What do you want to talk about? Like where did we leave off? Like we did leave off at, where was it? When you graduated high school, we talked about that. But you said there was some stuff that you wanted to do or you wanted to go back. The corn, you were talking about corncob pipes or something. Where did we leave off?
Well, that's the grandmother thing. I mean, the great grandmother had, one had a grandmother had a little iron pipe. And, but I also remember talking about cob pipes. You know, some of them used a cob pipe.
Just like, so this is why you remember this?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember either of the pipes?
That's what they told my sisters have told me that they remembered, and they'd tell me about Grandma having.
Well, tell me that story then. Tell me about the pipes that they smoked. I want to hear that.
Well, it was a small one.
Like a little iron pipe?
Yes.
I feel like that's not good for you. I mean, smoking is not good for you anyway, but smoking out of an iron pipe?
She lived to be in her 90s.
Okay.
I remember Pumpkin telling me that story and about some preacher had come to their church in Vicksburg and was a guest preacher, and he was talking about his great-grandmother, and Pumpkin realized it was her great-grandmother too. They didn't know each other until then.
That's crazy.
And that was kind of an odd thing.
Okay, so aside from the pipe stories, was there something
well,
else that
there
you
were many of them dipped snuff.
Right.
Do you know what snuff is?
It's like
A powdered.
Right. It's not like chewing tobacco, but it's like
The same product, only it's snuff. And
did you ever do any of that stuff?
no, and my mother didn't either, thank goodness. But her sisters did, and they had. The one I remember would visit us, and she would have a tiny little 2.5-inch little round can of snuff, and she had a tiny little stick in there that she had chewed the end of it till it was flexible, and she would put that little brush thing down in the little can and stir it around and get it full of snuff, and then put it inside her jaw, stick and all. Weird.
Pass on that. Weird.
And then, of course, sometimes they would just put it in their under lip, between their teeth and the lip.
Do you still get this? You get the same kind of like buzz or whatever? Like, is that that's why people do it?
I never tried it, Jake. I
Never
swear.
even tried it?
No, I never tried it. It was horrible.
Did you ever smoke or do anything else like that?
I smoked once because in high school we jump around so. The year before that I graduated.
Right.
And a few of the girls, 2 or 3 of us, decided we were going to play hooky. We had never played hooky, as my brother used to do that, not go to school when we were supposed to be there. So we decided, we were going to do it before we graduated. So we didn't go to class one afternoon, and we went down to one of the girls, had a lady that she used to stay with a lot. And we went to her house while she was not home and relaxed, and we had a pack of Cools.
Ooh. Okay.
And it was so cool that we did it. They named that right.
Right.
And we lighted our cigarettes, and then we blew smoke rings.
You did not.
Yes.
It's hard to blow smoke rings.
I blew smoke rings.
I
We
don't believe
did.
this story. I don't believe this for a second. So you played hooky from school, went over to your friend's house, and stole a pack of cigarettes and blew smoke rings.
Yes, we
Okay.
did.
And then,
Too bad we didn't have a drink.
True.
Oh,
True.
that would have
been
never had experienced that.
Right. So, but that was it. No other smoking ever else in your life?
After Jack and I were married, once in a while when we would be out, and everybody would be smoking, and I'd say, I want one, and I would take it in my mouth, and in a minute, Jack would reach over and take it out of my mouth and say, don't even hold it right, you know. And I didn't,
Right.
I never was a smoker.
Any other drugs? You ever do any other drugs?
No.
Really?
No.
Okay. We won't call her on it.
When was your first alcoholic drink?
Oh, I know what that was. I'm not trying to think of when I first had it. In Washington. I never had a drink when we were before I moved away from Vicksburg. I used to go out with Vince, and he had, oh, he wasn't bad. Vince was from Vicksburg. We're not talking about Isaac. You're not recording yet, are you?
No.
Just keep talking. It's fine. Finish talking about that story. We don't have to put this in.
Okay, well, so I didn't, Vince used to have scotch and soda. I never had that. I would always have a soft drink when we'd go out. And then after I got in Washington, and my girlfriends and I went out to dinner, and we were going to have a spaghetti dinner, and we decided we were going to have a glass of wine with it. And I had muscatel. If you know what that is, it's almost like a liqueur. It's sweet, but not. I had a boyfriend later who I went out with, and we ordered drinks, and I said I would have a glass of muscatel, and he said later that I was a cheap date, by ordering a muscatel that apparently wasn't a fancy drink.
How old were you when that happened?
What, 22?
Okay. Anything else you want to talk about? So we did the snuff and the pipe. We talked a little bit about drinking. Anything else that you wanted to talk about? You said from like going back before we keep going forward. Nothing.
Like, I don't know exactly what.
Okay. Then we'll keep moving forward. Can you see me okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. All right. Well then, so last time we finished, we got to high school graduation, right? That's how you say it. We graduated from high school, and then now we're moving away from home. Is that right?
Yes, but do you need me to correct how many were in the class?
Sure,
Because I checked it out since then. I
How
think
many
I
were in
told you
the-
there were 23. There were 13 of us.
13.
Yes.
Minus the girl getting married.
Well,
including
she
that.
she was included in that, but
Okay.
I
But
guess-
yeah, she wasn't there really.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I was thinking about it when after high school, you moved away, correct?
Well, this summer was the after high school was the packing tomatoes.
Okay.
And after that was finished, that was in midsummer, you know, so before September.
Then what happened? Then where'd you go?
I had a letter from my sister in Vicksburg who was had been there for 2 or 3 years, and she offered to take me for me to come and live with her, and she would pay for me to go to the business school in Vicksburg.
So that just out of nowhere, she just emails you. Yeah, out of nowhere, she emails you in 1937,
You think?
38. Out of nowhere, she sent you a letter that says, "Hey, why don't you come live with me and you can go to business school?" This
Yeah.
wasn't something that was like you didn't know you were going to do that
No.
as you were graduating
No,
from
it
high
was
school.
a suggestion of something that I could do because there was nothing in Grayson. I had an offer of one man who had I don't know what he did now, but it was like a cleaning service or something like that. And he wanted me to come work in his office. And I couldn't even type. We didn't have typing in school. So I didn't consider that. That's the only thing that there was.
So either
till
stay-
she offered that.
Stay in Grayson and possibly do some sort of cleaning service business
Whatever.
thing, or go live with sister in where?
Vicksburg,
In
Mississippi.
Vicksburg, right. And go to business school.
Go to business
So
school.
that seems like a no-brainer,
It
right?
sounded fabulous.
Right. So you got that letter and you were like, yeah, we're doing this.
Yeah.
And then, so what was that transition like? But I mean, you pack up your stuff and just go the next week. How long did it take to get out there?
Well, a couple of weeks, I guess,
Mhm.
by the time I packed my wardrobe.
Right.
I wonder what was in that
Right.
suitcase.
What do you think your mom thought about that?
I think she was probably a little upset about it
Mm-hmm.
because she had seen all of them leave, and
Right.
now she still lives with Opal.
Mm.
And Andy has left the year before in the Navy, hasn't been home, and now I'm gone.
Mm. But Opal is still home with her.
Yes, she was still
So that was
there.
always good. Okay, so you pack up your stuff and you go. So just talk about that then. What was that transitioning out there? And then what did you do? All that stuff.
Well, I was very excited
Mhm.
about that because I moved in with her and her husband and little boy, who was Earl B, was 2 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's almost 80. Just to remind him how old he is in case he ever listens to this. So she has a beautiful home on a nice neighborhood, all great houses,
Mhm.
and a lot of young people on that street. She was in her 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And as most of the neighbors were, it seemed there, and they had a lot of children, and big wide paved streets, and some 2-story houses, and
Right.
a nice neighborhood. And this was about little over 2 miles probably from the downtown section where the business school was.
Mhm.
So I move into the house with her, and I have my own bedroom.
Right. For the first time.
First
ever.
time.
Right.
She has a telephone
Mhm.
that hanging on the wall.
Mm-hmm. So it's, how did telephones work in 1938?
Well, the phone would ring, your particular ring,
Right.
and you would pick it up and pick up the receiver from the side of the phone that where it was hanging,
Mm-hmm.
and hold it up to your ear.
It's-
And
Is the kind of thing where you have like
Yes.
the just the receiver you hold up to your ear and you
Yes.
talk into the little
right,
I don't know what it's
Right.
called, right?
it's placed. The phone is on, placed on the wall. and
Right.
you-
And is there like an operator that's like you
yes,
have a call
if you
from,
want to call.
right?
Yes,
How's it work?
you pick up the phone, and she says, "Operator,"
Right.
and a number, please,
Right.
and you give her the number that you want to call.
Right.
It's usually a 3 or 4 digit number,
Right. Easy to remember.
and not an area code.
Right.
They don't care about that.
Right. Right.
And you wait till they call them to whoever you want to the
Right.
phone.
Right. And then when the phone rings, like if someone's calling you, you pick it up, and is it the person on the other end or is it the operator? Like
It's
doing,
the person on the other end.
So yeah, that
Yeah.
exchange. is
Unless
done.
it's a collect call.
Mhm.
You
Right.
could call collect, and then they have to. If it's a collect, they ask you if you will accept the call.
Right. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. So
I feel like that would be. I feel like we should bring that back. Right. Bring like the operator system back. Like that's would be. I mean, you could do it. I guess right now, like if you have your phones that you can like pick up and say like, "Hey," you like on your iPhone, where you're like, "Hey Siri, call Graham" or whatever, and then it just like does it.
right, I
the same
understand
kind of
you
thing.
can do that.
Just robots do it now instead of actual
Yeah.
human beings.
But it was a big time. A lot of girls
Right.
had a job as a telephone operator.
Right.
They,
That was like a thing, and I think we talked about that maybe in the first, maybe the second conversation that we sat down, but like that job just doesn't exist anymore.
No.
You know, and yeah, to me that's crazy how technology just replaces that. And I wonder if it was like a gradual thing, where it's like we don't need operators anymore, or is it just, you know, was it, you know, an instant kind of thing where the jobs left? I don't know what year that would have been when that happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They had phones before I moved to Vicksburg.
Right.
But there were many people in Grayson that
Right.
had phones. I didn't. If I wanted to make a call somebody who had a phone, I would have to walk down to the service station
Right.
and use their phone that was hanging on the wall.
Right. That's crazy. No phones actually in the house. Can't even
No.
imagine. Okay, so you've moved. So let's go back. So you moved into the house. You have your own bedroom. It has electricity.
Oh yes, it
Right.
has, and we have a bathroom, inside bathroom.
Amazing. Amazing.
First time in my life
That's crazy.
that
No,
that I had it in the house.
no. Morning glories? No morning glories planted outside of
No.
it or around it. You don't need that.
No.
Running water and all of that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So that was. Did that take like getting used to, or is that just like, I know it's kind of a weird thing to think about, but you know what I mean? Did you have to like, I don't know. Did you know how everything worked? Did you have to?
I
ask
did
yourself-
know because I had been there to visit
Okay.
before, so I knew what it was
Right.
like.
Right.
But I think now it seems strange that I didn't feel bad about that. But I'd go to somebody else's house and they'd have a bathroom, and I'd go home and I knew I had to go outside to the bathroom. It was like, well, they do and we don't.
So that didn't bother you, is what you're
No.
saying? It was just a normal thing. That's
Yeah.
kind of that's cool.
If you don't miss what you've never had.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. So then, obviously, you moved in. Did you think like this is like I'm living in the lap of luxury now?
Absolutely.
It was a big change like
Yes.
that. So what else? What other differences? They had the bathroom with the running water and all of that stuff, electricity. How many people were living in the house at the time?
Just my sister and her husband and the little boy.
And how old was he? That was Earl B, right?
He was two.
Two at that point. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other stuff moving into the house that, or just living in that house?
Well, it was so different because when I would wake up in the morning, the first thing I heard would be, this was in the summertime, and it would be some guy delivering vegetables, and he would be driving a horse, and you could hear the clip clop and he would yell out, vegetables,
Right.
corn, maters,
Right.
what they had.
Right.
And then the people would go out and pick their fresh vegetables because they didn't all have gardens like
Right.
we had.
Right. So you didn't have that in Grayson because you didn't need
Everybody
it.
had their
own
own.
garden. Right.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So that was a new sound.
Right. So what time is he out in the morning walking down the street with his vegetable cart?
It would be like 6 or 7 o'clock, I guess.
And you go out and you just buy your vegetables
Yeah.
door to door. What else? What other kind of weird stuff did you have to get used to that you remember?
Well, we had a bus service that if I walked to the end of the block, the main street was Washington Street, and it went all the way downtown by the river. Vicksburg is right on the Mississippi River. That was an experience coming across from Louisiana to Vicksburg because the train track, the railroad, and the highway were side by side. And if you were driving and there was a train coming, it looked like it was coming right into you.
Right.
And it was a weird sensation because I don't remember how long the bridge is now. I used to know. But it's a very long bridge and very narrow. I mean, it's just, it was quite an experience.
Were there any other, like, I don't know, like you hear people talk about seeing the ocean for the first time, that kind of, like, were there any other like geographic significant differences? Like obviously the Mississippi River it was probably like
It's big.
Yeah,
It's muddy.
right.
It's the muddy Mississippi.
But you'd been there before when you.
I had
visited your
been
sister.
across
Mm-hmm.
a few times.
What else? Any other differences? You got your bus service. You've got.
Well, there was Vicksburg has the Vicksburg National Military Park because, of course, they have the Battle of Vicksburg and a lot of soldiers were buried there. And the cemetery in the park is a beautiful place to go. And there's a monument to every state in the United States.
And that was there when you moved there.
Yes,
Okay.
that's been there for
Wow.
many, many years. I have no idea when it was built.
Okay.
But it was always an attraction. And later years when I went back to visit, we drove through and they have the automated recordings that you can pick up as you drive through the park, and it tells you what it is. You don't have to get out and go read the monument, which was a fun thing to do.
Okay, so you moved. So, like, what time of the year was it? Like, when did you move? It was
The end of summer.
So the end of summer in
So it was
1938.
still hot when I got there. That was in 1938.
Okay, so you moved in with your sister. You're settling in, and then what happens?
Well, she takes me down to the business school, and that was something else too.
All right, so talk about that then.
I was a little surprised at that, but because I had gotten, she had sent me a brochure from the business school, and it gave the name of the principal, the head of it,
Like the dean,
the owner,
the
I
dean.
guess it was,
Right.
Professor Trimble.
You remember
And-
that?
Yes.
That's weird.
And it showed pictures of a girl and boy with their laying out under a big tree with their books. So I thought this is going to be a nice
That's
place.
exactly what business school is like, right?
Yes. And so we go downtown, and the sign on the door is Southern Business College. And there's a shoe store below it. And then there's a stairway where you go upstairs. And there's this big room. And Professor Trimble meets you, and you go in his little office.
Right.
And pay him $100,
There you go.
and that pays for the business course.
That's crazy.
And that is forever. You can come back any time after you graduate from that school for a refresher course.
Okay. So it's like
So the
Go ahead.
teacher, to have the class, you get, the room has this long row of typewriters set up, and then it has desks you're assigned a desk, and then there's a long table right in front of his desk in the front of the room for the people who are in. This is for all ages, and you can go in any time of the year, and you learn to do I don't know what I'm getting
right. So wait.
confused here about what.
So yeah. So first off, what was the name of the business school again?
The Southern Business College. Oh, SBC.
SBC.
Yes.
Southern above a shoe store. Southern Business College.
And the stores. It's on a street where all their stores are next to you. Five and Dime, dress shops. Oh, I'm
Right.
in heaven.
All right. Before we get there, so was it like how long did it last? Because like when you say business school, to me, I think, okay, where you have semesters and you take several classes and you get a degree at the end of it, right? So explain to me like how
Yes,
how does this work?
Is the way it was. You got a little book, 5x7 book for your shorthand book.
Okay.
One book, and it has all the little symbols of the alphabet and words.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get a typing book, which shows you where you put your fingers on the keys.
Mm-hmm.
These are big Underwood typewriters.
Okay.
It's the manual kind.
Mm-hmm.
Electricity has not reached typewriter yet.
Right. Right.
And you learn how to do the first lesson is where you put your fingers
Mm-hmm.
and you practice, and you have a big typing book that you stand up. It would stand up on the little desk on the table by your desk,
Mm-hmm.
by your typewriter. And you learn to do that without looking at the book.
Mm-hmm.
And,
So how long did business school last?
well, there was no set time on it. You start working, you'd come in, and he'd give you the assignment on how many pages of the shorthand that you are to practice when you go home. You have your little stenographer's notebooks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what they are. They're narrow.
Mm-hmm.
And you go home and practice your little symbols.
Right.
The dot is an A, a little curve is for a word,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And it was fun.
All right. And then, so how long did you participate in business?
So after you've been there 2 or 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
you're getting pretty good because you do this every day.
Right. So you're used to it. So
And
you
you
get,
get
your
used
stuff
to it.
down.
You learn the alphabet, and
Right.
we had business English
Right.
and typing
Mm-hmm.
and the shorthand. And that was the extent of what it was.
Uh-huh.
And you practice all of those
Right.
a little time for each one. He would announce what he was going to have next, and the beginners class and the middle class and the senior class.
Right.
And
So-
they would come up to the table, and he would dictate to you, and you would write it down.
Right.
Practice.
Right.
You'd have to read it back to him.
Right.
And there would be from 3 to 8 people in that group.
Right.
And then you would do that until you were getting pretty good at it, and then people would call in and ask for a secretary.
Right.
They needed some help, and he would decide which one he thought could do that.
Oh, so the businesses would call him, and then he would be the one to.
To send, he would give you the option, and you could go try out for it. And if you didn't get it, then he would offer it to somebody else. And then you would go to the appointment, and you would decide if you wanted to stay there.
So is that what happened with you?
Yes, I went to the first one, and the man had a store, not too high class a store, and he showed me the typewriter by the cash register, and he told me when I came in the morning, the first thing that I needed to do was to get the broom and sweep out the store before the customers came in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sat there and listened to him till lunchtime.
Mm-hmm.
And I went home, and I told Pumpkin I wasn't going back.
Right.
I quit.
Within the first day.
The first one, yes.
Because
that job was not for me. I had my high heels and my nice dress on.
Right.
And I was going to be a classy.
Right. You realize that, this isn't what
That's not for me.
and you just, out of nowhere, that's it.
Yeah, I just went back to class and
just kept going.
yeah.
Right. So, what kind of, I don't know, what drove your decisions at that point? Or maybe clearly you have things to decide. You could have gone and taken that job, and then that would have been that. But you realized you didn't want to do that.
No.
What was driving you, do you think? What in your brain are you thinking about?
Well, I wanted a better job than that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think that job was calling me. And so I waited for another one. And of course, very soon I got another one, and I went to another store, and I did take that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a high-paying job. I got $5 a week,
Ooh.
and
Big-
it
big
went up
money.
to 8.
Yeah. Nice.
That was big time.
At any point were you like? At any point are you worried about money? Like you're able, like you go in and you're offered this job and you're like, nah, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean?
No, it wasn't the money. It was the job, the place that I wouldn't. That's the reason I wouldn't stay there.
Right.
The other place was no great place either. It was an electrical parts store.
Right.
But I did have. He had bought a new typewriter and desk with a little turning chair by the cash register, or back in his little office. He had a little better class.
Okay. So, and you're what, 18 at
Yeah.
that point, right? So, are you think like I think about when I was that age. For me, it was, I think we talked about that before a little bit, but for me, a lot of it was like, what am I going to do with my life? What am I going to major in when I'm in college? And that's like, these are the things that go through my mind. And that lasted for years for me.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like it's,
You
maybe
couldn't find your place.
Right. You know, so it's like, well, my friends are doing this. Should I do that? I don't know. You know, is this what I'm supposed to do? You know, like that sort of stuff, like just stuck with me. But it sounds like you didn't have anything like that. You just went in and.
Oh no, everything was better.
Right. So was it? Do you think just because of the way that you grew up, or your environment as you were growing up, all of this stuff was like, all right, this is cool. I'll try this out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when I got to this point, I was ready for whatever.
Right.
And it was such a beautiful town, and it was a high class of people compared to where I had lived before, I guess.
Did you expect, like, what did you expect, I guess? So now that you've moved out there and you've taken this job, is it, I'm just going to live here for a while, or like, what were your, like, did you have ambition to move away even further, or, you know what I mean?
Well, I think I lived in the moment for...
it sounds like it.
Yeah, because it was, everything is better than I had before.
Mm-hmm.
And I was happy about that. I had learned to live with what I had.
Right. Were you ever worried that you would have to go back to Grayson? And
No.
Why not?
Because there was nothing for me to go back to.
Mm-hmm. Well, your mom, right?
Yep. Well, I went back and visited her, and she would come and visit us.
Right.
But I was ready to move on.
Right. So you weren't worried like, the business school won't work out or the job won't work out, I'll have to go back.
I had a positive attitude then, as I still do.
Is that what you think helps kind of sustain you through that? Just have a good attitude about it and live in the moment?
I think so. Well, it was all working out. I was living in this nice house with my sister. I was meeting new people. I went to a new church, which was big and beautiful, and I sang in the choir, and I met all the young people there. I had dates every night.
Woo.
Or what, there was everything was so new. I was making a little money and shopping for myself, and I didn't do much shopping then.
So talk about that then. Now that you had this extra income, where did that go? What did you do with it?
Well, my sister made me go down. She took me down and opened a bank account, a savings account for me.
Nice. That's good.
I think I saved $42.
Good. Right. It's good financial decisions.
In the 3 years two years that I lived there, but I had a little money to myself, for myself.
So what did you buy?
My sister was still making clothes and sending to me.
Nice.
And I remember one outfit she made. It was a pink and white check gingham little skirt and a solid pink top trimmed with the other. And people just thought, she knew it was just a little gathered skirt and a little plain blouse. But I wore it.
Right.
And people would say I was so dressed up. I thought, if you only knew
Where
this
it
dress
came
cost less than $1, you know.
Right. Nice. What else did you splurge on, or like what did you buy with your extra money aside from putting it in the bank? What did you do?
We didn't go out to dinner.
Right.
That wasn't one of the things.
What about?
Well, I had money to buy a little gift for somebody if I needed to.
Okay.
You know.
Just a little extra. That's nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how long were you taking the business class before you got that first job? Like, how long do you think that took?
4 or 5 months, I
Okay.
guess.
And then, what else do you want to talk about from? You said you were there for 2 years.
Yeah.
What else sticks out in your mind that you want to talk about from that time?
Well, as I said, I met so many new people and friends, and they had cars. And in fact, the man across this road from where I lived on that street worked downtown, and many times he would just tell me to be ready. You know, he would be going in the same direction, and I wouldn't have to take a bus or walk, and I could. He would pick me up. He'd pull his car up in front of the house and wait for me to go out. Nice
Right.
people, you
Right.
know, good neighbors.
Do you still, aside from your family, is there anybody that you've kept in touch with? Like who had you kept in touch with the longest? You know what I mean?
Well, my friend from high school, my best friend from high school, we didn't keep in touch for a long time. But then when I would go back years later to visit my family, and I would get in touch with her while I was there and see her for a few minutes. And in fact, I kept in touch with her then until a few years ago. And we made a trip down back to Louisiana, and I did go and visit her, and then we were in our 90s,
Right.
and
Yeah.
she passed on
Right.
since then. So
Right. That is high school. That is a long friendship. That's awesome.
yeah.
Okay. So anything else from in Vicksburg? You said
Well,
you were
I
there for
moved
2 years.
on. I got a different job.
Okay. What else?
So I had been working there the Roslyn Electric Company for a while, and then I had a boyfriend who's I have to tell you how I met him. I was dating this one guy who worked at the old post office building in Vicksburg, and his job was an elevator operator.
Nice. Why is that funny?
Well, it's so stupid. That's a job.
Right. Somebody had to operate the elevators back then.
All he did was stand by the elevator, and when you wanted to get in, he would say, "What floor do you want?" And you would tell him, and you would get in the elevator with him, and he would push the button to that, and he would say, "What if you were going to in a store that had a second floor to it?" He would announce what they had on that floor,
Right.
if that was the one you wanted, and then you would up or down.
Right.
Big deal. But that was his job. And then when he got a job in Washington, and his best friend knew that I was there, so it was by myself, not having him. So I started dating him then. So his father was a city clerk, and he told Vince, my friend, that there was an opening in the mayor's office. And so I went down and applied for it, and I got the job.
And so when was this?
This was, I had gone in 1938. I guess it was probably 1939.
It's a nice little promotion.
Yes, it was, and it was beautiful. Oh, I was so impressed with the building itself, because it was this beautiful white building with these long white steps in front, and you walk up and go right to the mayor's office and to my desk, which was in his office behind him.
Weird.
But they told me that he was half drunk half the time.
Do you think he was?
I didn't know it.
Right.
I couldn't tell.
I feel like
never-
everybody was probably half drunk half the time, or most of the time. Back
They could
then,
have been,
right?
as far as I know.
Right. That's
But Mayor Hamilton had a daughter who had just gone to Washington to work. She had been his secretary, and she had gone to Washington. And wouldn't you know, very soon after that, I did start working for the government in Vicksburg. And they, at that time, had these forms for you to apply to Washington to work. This was 1939 and 1940 when the war was going in Europe.
Right.
And we knew that, the people in the know knew that it was very serious time. And they were hiring all these people for jobs for the different departments in Washington. And I filled out an application and sent in to Washington. You took a government exam where you typed and you took dictation and you were rated to what your qualifications were, and
Right.
was sent to Washington. And I got a notice from the Navy Department of the Navy and telling me that I had been accepted and to report there on September something.
Right.
And I sent them a telegram back and said I would be there.
Yeah. So that would have been 2 years in Vicksburg, and then you got your new job.
Yeah.
How long did you work for the mayor?
Only a few months because I got a better job with the government department. And so, but it was so impressive. His
Right.
stationery had his name on it. And
Right.
City of Vicksburg.
Right. So anything else that you can that you want to talk about that you remember from from that transition from moving away from home and then living in Vicksburg?
It was all a fun time. I loved it all.
Are there any certain times of your life that you look back on that are yeah, that was the most fun ever? If I could go back to that time, that's what I would want to do. Are there little moments or little, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, that would
doesn't
come-
have to be it could be from the 80s or the 60s. It doesn't have to be from the 30s or whatever.
Yeah.
So what would those be?
Well, the fun time was working in Washington, though it was a very serious time. You
Right.
know, it was. I was there when they bombed Japan, when
Right.
Japan bombed Pearl Harbor,
Right.
and that was an exciting but scary.
How long did you live in Washington? What years do you remember?
I moved there in September before Pearl Harbor happened in December, 41. And I stayed there until 1945. And
Okay.
got married.
Okay. Anything else you can think about from the times before you moved to Washington? That you remember that you want
What
to talk about?
did times in Vicksburg?
Yeah.
Well,
To me, that's I look. I'm sorry. I look at that. That's college party time, right? That's you move away from home. If we're dividing your life up as though it were, my life basically. That's that from the 38 to 41. That's when
Well,
most
it
people go to
was
college.
it was an exciting
Right.
time. I could call it party time.
Yeah,
there.
it's Graham the college years.
But it
Right.
wasn't until I moved to Washington and lived in that boarding house with all the young people and the parties that we had at night after work and dancing and playing records and
Nice.
going to movies late
Okay.
and going to dinner and having that glass of wine.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
And,
Well, let's hold off on the Washington stuff. Let's do that next time.
Okay.
Because that's a nice big chunk of stuff. Anything else you can think of that you want to talk about? Before
Well,
we
I
do
did
that?
so many new things that I had never done before. We went to the county fairs that they had there, and they had Ferris wheels. And
Right.
I would take I did a little babysitting for my two sisters who lived there. And I remember I took one of them. I had forgotten this until he reminded me of it. One of my nephews, who's now in his 80s, remembered me taking him on the Ferris wheel. And he was scared.
Right.
And I had to have him stop the Ferris wheel to let us off.
How old was he when that happened?
Well, must have been about 4 or 5.
Right.
But he asked me if that happened. And, one time when I saw him, and
Right.
I said, yes, it did.
Right.
It's like,
I have never been I don't think I've ever been super into the amusement park rides and stuff. But I remember just recently, what was it, last summer, I think we went to I was on a Ferris wheel one time with Abby, who was she would have been 4. I guess that was she was probably 4 at that point. And then
was she scared?
No, that's the thing. And then another time, same summer. So this was last summer with Abby, Jack, and Luke. So Abby was 4. How old was Jack this past summer? 7, 8, something like that. And then Luke, who was somewhere in between that. And it was me and the 3 kids. I don't know why there were no other grown-ups in our little Ferris wheel cart or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just the one down the Early Heights Ferris wheel at Smyrna Park. But the way that they have the little Ferris wheel cage, it only goes up so far.
Yeah, right.
So there's all this open air and space around you, and they were trying to get up on their knees and and peek over the edge, and I was like that was scary for me.
you.
I would want them to stop the thing, but I don't know if it's because I'm taller and I could see over, but
Yeah.
that had me going. So right.
Yeah.
So I don't blame him for wanting to stop.
Yeah.
Anything else? So you had your county fairs. What else in Vicksburg that you can remember?
Well, I know I had one friend who had a motorcycle, and I went on the motorcycle with him out to the park, and riding in the, I guess you call the gutter, this pavement, and then there's on each side, it's a cemented drain, and he would go in the drain and, weave. It was so much fun.
Thrill seeker.
The sad part about that is, after I left, I heard that the war started.
Right.
He was one of the first ones who got killed.
That's sad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that happened a lot.
Yeah, I would imagine. That's crazy. Anything else? Any other Vicksburg adventures that you can think of?
Well, I was a member of the church there. I mean, I attended a huge Baptist church there.
Right.
And the group that I used to go, the youth group, when I left, they gave me a shower. New clothes and things, personal items. And one girl gave me, or the whole group, I guess they had given capsules, empty capsules, for them to write a note to me, because I was going on the train.
Right.
And this was going to be something for me to open every day
Okay, that's neat.
for a week. And that was pretty cute.
That was cool.
Open a capsule and see what their wish was for the day.
Right.
Why do I remember that?
I don't know. That's weird. It's weird, the stuff that sticks there. All right, cool. Anything else that you can think of that you want to talk about or that sticks out in your memory?
Well, just with being with the nieces and nephews that I got to know while I was there, and the wonderful occasion of moving and living with Pumpkin, and she was so sweet to me and interested in everything. I would come home and tell her. And
Right. Did you guys ever get into fights or anything? Did you ever get home and have a bad day and be like, leave me alone? Or did you have any of that kind of stuff?
I don't think so.
Just all fun and good memories. Are you making that up?
No, if I could, I can't think of any bad fights
That's
at
good.
that time.
At that time. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's good enough. Anything else you want to talk about from Vicksburg?
I can't think of anything else right now. I'm sure as soon as
I was
you
going to
hang
say,
up,
as soon as we turn this off, you're going to remember.
yeah.
Or next week. Okay, so next week, let's do moving away from Vicksburg and just 1941-ish. Mm-hmm. And then however far we get with that.
Okay.
So that's where you can brush up on your research. I'll brush up on my research for that time. Too. All right, good. Good work.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye.